Hello, sir. How are you?
It's never too much, Gino. Never too
How are you?
much.
So, who are you again, sir?
Robert Saenz I'm down in San Antonio. Actually, a small little suburb outside of San Antonio. Helotes, I'm a real estate broker down there. We have a small brokerage. We kind of consider ourselves boutique, but right now we have 15 realtors, and we do property management and real estate. So,
Do you feel San Antonio is like one of those cities, kind of like the way Houston's becoming, or Austin or Dallas, where it's like people know San Antonio, and then it's like all these outside little areas that are kind of just bleeding together, right?
Yeah, no, I think unfortunately that's what it's become. I feel like a lot of the smaller little suburbs and the outskirts have turned into bigger than what people had thought. I know Helotes wasn't supposed to blow up, and it's just like they have nowhere to go, so they go to these small little suburbs, and by the time you know it, they become part of San Antonio.
When you say unfortunately, why do you say that?
Well, a lot of people want that small town feel. That's the reason we moved out to Helotes. So we live in Helotes. Our office is in there. We purchased that office, so we have a lot invested in it. But we moved out there because we wanted the small town feel, and now I feel like the city is catching up to us for sure. It's crazy. I mean, construction, it's just gotten to the point where it's like, man, we got to go out further. So by the time you know, we'll be in Bandera. So,
but I think it's nice when you get out there early, though, because at least you get out there early, you get to kind of stake your claim, and then stuff starts to grow, and you're like, cool, we got a Starbucks. Because I live in a part of town where there's not really anything. You got to go a few miles in, not as far as like say those areas.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of nice to be away from it for a little bit.
It is. It's almost like you see it grow. I mean, we're in the business of real estate. We've done like rehabs and stuff. We always see how like the progress goes. So that's kind of how we're watching Helotes right now from the outside, just seeing it from like where we got there, and now it's just like it's getting to the point where it's also like schools. So there's going to be different zoning, and it's like we always wanted our kids to go to a certain school. That's out of the picture because now there's a new school being built. But again, change is something that we're used to. So it's like pivoting and stuff like that. It's not a big deal, but it's something that at the end of the day, we are going to benefit the most because we invested there when properties were, I mean, I wouldn't say dirt cheap, but it was a lot lower. Cheaper. Nobody really wanted to be out there. It was too far from downtown, too far from, everything else that they had going. So now it's just kind of all connected, and I feel like we're on top of each other. So,
cool.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things whenever here I say, hey, I do real estate in Corpus, and you even asked me this yesterday. Hey, how far do you go? It's like, well, we go to like the island, we go to Port A, Rockport. These are all areas that are like 40, 45 minutes. So in San Antonio, since it's so much bigger, I've had people that are moving up there and they're like, oh, what area? They're like, that's a whole other realtor.
Yep.
Do you not do certain areas, or are you kind of open to everything?
No, so my background is really like REOs and fixer-uppers, and they're everywhere, man. So we're kind of really more about the numbers opposed to like the geographic of the property. I mean, we won't go too far, obviously, but anything in that kind of touches San Antonio is still our market. I mean, it has been. I mean, I think getting into the business, that was one of the ways that we expanded ourselves and were able to offer more services is by being able to be familiar with different areas. And when it came down to being familiar with the property and the numbers. So we won't go further than New Braunfels. And the reason for that is because
that seems really far.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different MLS. Mm-hmm. So that's the only thing that holds us back is like having the access to the MLS to be able to provide the info for the client. I know there was talks like merging Austin and San Antonio at some point. I'm like, that's gonna really suck because it's too big. But I feel like if it does happen, it's gonna be because of New Braunfels.
So you said San Antonio and Austin, they want to merge those two.
They were talking about it, like serious talk.
That's a ridiculous amount of coverage.
It is. Well, what happened was the Austin agents were the ones that were upset because there's higher priced properties in Austin. Us San Antonio's like, hell yeah, we'll go over there for $800,000, homes and stuff. And they were like, well, that's gonna eat into their market because they really weren't interested in coming to San Antonio. But it was something that was like pushed through for a long while, and it finally got
more to kind of cover the in between areas. I would think not so much like.
Well, I think what they're trying to do, and it was to kind of like for like sponsorship. So obviously, like the MLS and stuff like that, they have people that they sell the data to. So they felt that it would be easier to sell the whole data from Austin. It was a bigger piece of the pie, pretty much. But luckily, a lot of the Austin agents, put a stop to it, or else it would have already been in effect like today. Like I think it was like literally like. I started like in 2018, 2019, right before COVID. And then like after COVID, it kind of died down. And then after that, it was like no more talks. So it kind of worked out because if not, it would have been a crazy, setup. But
there's been a few areas here where it's actually, that's my phone.
That's your phone? Huh? You turned around all pissed off like you're going to yell at something.
There's been a couple areas here where they actually merged some of the MLS, but it wasn't anything close to the demographic or the population like the way those two cities are.
Yeah, and so we're actually part of the Corpus Christi MLS, and I know there's another one, and we do that because we have to get the opportunities to service our asset managers, so we need to have access to those. Now, I know there's like Corpus, and then there's like another one. I want to say like the Alice, or is it all tied into each
They
other?
have the Alice one, which is not very big, and then there's the San Pat one, which is not very big. And there's
That's the other one.
There's a Portland one, but I think Portland's one of the ones that just merged with us. And then there was a Kingsville, they merged as well.
Wow, and I think it makes sense for smaller cities, but I think like for two big cities to merge like that, it's not a good thing. But yeah, man, I mean we're in San Antonio. I'm originally from the Valley, but we've been in San Antonio for like almost going on 20 years. So it's almost like it's our, I wouldn't say hometown, but our kids are born there and raised there. So we try to work and service as many people as we want, and it's a big city, and it's crazy how big it is, because when you're in there, it doesn't even feel that big, because everything is, I feel like, broken up. So you have like different segments of towns, but makes it easier for us to be able to help our clients, because I think that once you get familiar with where you're at and who wants to move in there and who's moving out, I think it goes a long way. Sure. So, but yeah.
Well, it's good. It's one of those things. Like there's here, there's surrounding areas of Corpus Christi where it's called the Coastal Bend. And so when I first started, I would take any deal I could, no matter if it was an hour away, it's 30 minutes away, wherever, just because I needed to get my feet wet and to start doing stuff. And then over time, you start to meet realtors that are like, I only do this area, I only do this area. And I've never been that type where I'm like, I only do Southside, or I only do this. Yeah. I'm a Texas realtor, and the deal makes sense, and I'm going to go do it. I'll go do it, especially if it's just through a referral network, which really has to become, because at a certain point, it doesn't make any sense for me to drive to San Antonio. I can't do it on the weekend. I got to do other stuff.
Yeah, and we're starting to do the same thing with the Corpus. So if you have we did have a couple of agents in our brokers that work the Corpus market, but I feel like it's just like, if you're not
just drive down.
I guess, yeah, and it was just like that's a lot. Like, now I see the Valley. We're originally from the Valley, so I feel like you go, you make it a weekend trip, and it couldn't work out. But even like that, is like the client's gonna be calling you.
As long as you got a faithful buyer, dude. Because if I'll be damned if I'm going to San Antonio or anywhere past an hour, showing properties on a Saturday, and they call me like, "Oh, we called our friend. Thanks for showing us, though. It was a nice little valet service provided for us."
It's tough, and honestly, we usually work it on the sell side. We really don't work the buyer side, because at that point, it becomes like, as a broker, I'm looking at liability issues like all day. Like, it's like if you were to sell a house and then you weren't like competent in the area, then it could be some legal issues down the road. So we're looking at more on the sell side. So on the sell side, we'll kind of make that trek to the Valley and sell the property there. But when you have a buyer moving into this, geographic area, that's tough, because you need to be the expert. You need to know the schools. You need to know kind of everything that surrounds it. Be familiar with the taxes and whatnot, because I think a lot of people just do it. And as an agent, it's like easy, like, yeah, we'll do it. But after that, peace out, later's bye. And it's just like, it sucks for the new homeowner, because they don't have that.
Find, right?
Yeah, and that's
now what do I do?
Yeah, right. And one thing that we do in San Antonio is like, I know we talked about it last night, like about the 100-day experience, and it's something like our setup would not work in that.
That was something that I think every realtor should hear. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
After we had the dinner last night, just to kind of get to know each other,
sure.
I brought you in. I talked to one of my team members, and I was like, "Hey, there's this thing that we need to talk about. It's what we've been discussing, kind of like we talked about just a second ago. It's like somebody will tell you something,
and
then be like, oh, cool, and then somebody else will tell you the same thing.
The best idea ever.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I've heard it. I know I've heard that from somewhere else, but now it's a good idea from another person, just to kind of solidify. And in real estate, that's one of those things where people over the years. I know plenty of people that have bought properties and never, ever saw a realtor again. It's like they just closed, and I'm guilty when I first started doing that, because I didn't know any better. I was just trying to have an ends to a mean. I'm going to sell a couple of properties. I'm going to make a couple extra dollars.
Yeah.
I got my other job I'm doing, and then, oh, who are you? Like I saw him in the grocery store. I'm like, oh, yeah, hey, what's up? Yeah. Nice to see you. But when you actually making an effort to say, hey, after they close, here's how we're going to touch back. Here's how we're going to network with these people that they've helped, they trusted us, and how we're going to get referrals.
It makes sense for someone that's going to be in it in the long run, because you can't half-ass it, man. You can't go and try to be like that realtor that's always going to be there, and then like, a couple years later they call you, be like, oh, I'm selling insurance now, or it's like, it doesn't work like that. You have to be like fully committed, and I feel like that's the hard part, and that's kind of the reason that we never did, is because we weren't we were kind of unsure on what we were gonna do. And then when we figured out, like, hey, this is it. Like,
This is the way we have to
this
do
is
it.
what we have to do. Like, let's start putting systems in place. And Vanessa, my wife, read a book about a dentist that was doing this, of how they did a lot of stuff, whether it be personalized. When you walk in, they say, hey, welcome. Gino, and it's that's where it starts. So it starts with stuff like that, and then it leads on to the next one. And I think a lot of the times, I think in that book, the 100-Day Experience, they were talking about, like, you don't call your dentist if unless your tooth hurts, and it shouldn't be like that. Like, it should be kind of like, you should be kind of like seeing what's going on throughout the whole thing, so that when your tooth does hurt, he's the first one you think of.
Sure.
But
if someone else near you.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, you should call.
Exactly. No, you're spot on right there, man. And I think it's something that it's different. It's definitely a change. I think but it feels good. It feels good doing it. It feels good being that kind of provider to people that on the consumer side, I wish everybody did the same thing, whether it be.
I mean, how many times have you been somewhere and you had an experience like that? And it could be something very simple, as like you said, a dentist, or getting your oil changed, or just very little things that you have great customer service. You're like, wow, like, I'm never going to think about going somewhere else because I know they're not going to treat me like that.
And that's kind of where we want to be. And I think it is a lot of it's a lot of stuff. I mean, you're touching different people in different ways. Not to sound weird, but you know what I'm saying. You're doing emails, you're doing mailings, and then you're doing like pop-bys, and you're also doing in person. So
I think a lot of people will be surprised how many different businesses they sign up for, they get emails for, and not even realize, like, oh, why am I always shopping at Bath and Body Works?
Yeah.
Oh, I know, because I get an email and they check on me every freaking day. Like,
It's
maybe
insane.
I don't need it this week, but maybe next week or the following week. Or
It's
just different
insane.
retail places.
And I feel like everybody kind of went away from like email marketing, but it's just like the most
I feel
trackable.
like it has to be there.
It has to be there because, it's something that you always want to stay in front of people in different ways. I'm big on email. I mean, obviously, being in the real estate business, email's like everything. So a good way, if someone's trying to like capture my attention, would be email, because that's something I check every day, like most people do. I mean, I think every job now, first thing you do when you sign up,
it's like, oh, what I got today.
Yep,
but there's also stuff that comes through email, and you're like, I don't really need to see that, but I know it's there. I'm not going to unsubscribe.
And that's something that we leave it up to like the professionals, like the marketing directors, to be able to put labels on their stuff. That's going to be, we don't want to come off salesy. We want to bring value. So we'll put on their stuff, such in our monthly newsletters, we'll put stuff of like events, stuff that's going on, what's new. And then once in a while, at the very bottom, we'll throw in the properties. Like, hey, these are our new listings. But everything else is like personal. And I think that's where it helps us, because people want to work with us because we're us, not because we have a good deal, on the south side for $20,000 under market. Like, that's not the reason.
Here's a house. Here's a house. Here's a house. Like,
I know.
I get it.
It's funny that yesterday when we were talking about it, that's something that really annoys you, I guess, in the real estate industry, is when they.
For me, it does. It just seems lazy.
Yeah, I could see that.
Is how I see it. It seems lazy.
Well, I mean, so when I first started, I mean, back in the heydays, there was no social media. So I feel like a lot of that's why I still don't do it, like nothing but properties put up there. But I feel like a lot of the agents that came in that middle, when social media started being popular, that's why they started pushing all of that. And I think it's just like, some of them were very successful on that. I mean, I think, and good for them. I mean, we know realtors that do the same thing, where all they're doing is like, we don't even know how they look or who they are,
There's a guy I follow out of San Antonio, and I think his mom used to be a realtor here, and now he's over there. It's something with an N. Is it Naviz? And he has almost, I think, like 500,000 plus followers, or maybe 1 million now. And he does all the San Antonio tours. Good looking kid. He's always in a suit. He does like really good tours. I think he does a really good job with it. Really
and there's different ways. I mean, I feel like if you're up to trend and is like it looks pretty to the eye. I mean, I think it's a great thing. Some people do like seeing all that.
Yeah, but I think also everybody has their own shtick.
Yes.
Everybody has their own like thing.
Exactly.
Like, you got here's the dancing realtor.
Yeah.
This is the coffee realtor.
Yeah.
This is the chocolate chip realtor.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Different stuff.
I think and it works. I mean, our thing is being the personable. You're working with me. This is who I am, and I like you. You like me. Let's work together. If I don't like you, well, shit. Let's not work. And it makes me happy. It makes me want to go to my job knowing
you
that.
You got to attract your tribe.
Exactly.
And like we talked about, sorry, I keep saying we talked about. We had dinner last night. Okay?
Yeah.
We had a blind date. Yeah. And it went really well. So this is the second date.
Yeah, right. We made it.
Yeah.
We made
it. Yeah. one of the things I thought about is like there's certain times where I've had clients reach out to me and then I missed the call and then they moved on to the next person down the list. It's like, okay, well, did that person really want to work with me, or are they just going down the list? I'd rather the people that are like, they call it like raving fans, like hey, I trust you completely.
For sure.
I don't even have to worry. Like we have those clients and I love those clients. Gino, I need this property sold. And I know that I can one, miss the message, call them back, and they're still going to be there. And two, hey, I'm not waiting.
But how did you get there though?
I think how did I get to that point?
How did you get to that point? Or how did you?
I would say by reputation over time. I relate it to like being a hairstylist. Like ladies, like if you have a hairstylist and he's the man, he's taking care of you, you're going to wait to get into that appointment. You're not going to go,
I agree.
I'll go to this guy because that's what happens. You go to this guy and he fucks up
screw
your hair.
Up your hair.
Like, damn. And then you got to start all over again. Now your hair's all fried and orange. You're like, damn it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've never had that happen.
No, I mean, it totally makes sense. But I think in every business, I mean, I think we talked about it again and we keep referencing last night. But we talked about like every business is pretty much the same. So whether it be, dentist, a lawyer, everything kind of like
it's an experience.
And it's just like it's part of being a human, being having that interaction and connection. I think is big, and I think a lot of the times businesses get bad reps because some people unfortunately don't have that value. And I think it's something that if you do have that value, it's something that you should definitely pass it on because it does help. And we've had testimonies from clients that tell us like, man, dude, like this deal was so seamless, not only because of, what happened, but because the feeling, like you feel different after a closing. And it's good. I mean,
it's like your friend helped you, not
exactly.
some stranger that just forgot your name. It's like, this guy doesn't even know my name.
Yeah.
He's saying me under address.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of those clients, and like you said, raving fans, I mean, I think it's they see us on social media, they see us in person, our client appreciation events. I mean, we leave the client appreciation events and it's just like exhausted from like talking to everybody, and it's just like that. Yeah, and it feels good, and you could see it like in them, like I have a lot of them like, do you remember me? I was like, of course I remember you. And I'll spit out the address, the sales price, like time, like I remember that, and it helps me remember because the interactions we had. I have clients that, have been repeat clients so long that I know one recently was like, hey man, my daughter lost her tooth at our showing when we were buying our first house. And I was like, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. She's like, yeah, she's graduating from high school this year. I was like, oh shit. And then like randomly we ran into them and she was like, oh yeah, I remember you're showing us a house. And it's just like little stuff like that, connections. But I think it comes down to being personable and being able to have that, attribute of connecting with people. And I think it's just doing that little extra thing, and our extra thing is a 100-day experience. So
tell me a little more, because for anybody that's like, okay, where did this guy come from? How does Gino randomly have a San Antonio realtor here in the office today? And so tell me more about this, and I'm trying to see if I can get that. Get the camera right there. Can you see that right there? See that?
So this is it's a Facebook forum that we started, Puro Pinche Real Estate, and it's a little bit vulgar, but I feel like if you understand it and you it's really not that bad.
I don't think it's bad.
And some people,
pure real estate, so that's nice.
It's
pure real estate.
I think one thing that we noticed in San Antonio in the real estate industry, there was a lot of Hispanic top producing realtors that were going. I wouldn't say unnoticed. They just weren't getting the platforms that others, in the industry were. And I was like, it was always something that kind of, ticked me kind of like, dude, we need to make a change. We need to make a change. And how do we do it? And then we got to a point where we were in a higher platform because we were producing more. So I was like, okay, now, they see me at the events. They see my name up there. They see like, now let's go for it. So we started this Facebook forum, and it's strictly for real estate professionals. We've had a lot of people.
So you say forum, it's like a Facebook group?
It's a Facebook group.
Okay.
And I think on there what we're trying to do is we're really targeting that younger Hispanic.
So this is for realtors?
This is for real estate professionals. This is something that we want to put up there, like, how did they get there? So how did you become this? Because there's a lot of times that newer realtors don't know who to reach out to. They're just like, or even like they're too ashamed to go to the broker. But we feel like if we put it on a podcast style video, they could watch it and they could kind of like, oh shit, take notes and like, hey, that's something cool. Like I should be doing that. Or
that's what I've done over the years.
And I've done the same thing.
People have told me, man, you're so creative. I'm like, thanks. But also I have to contribute a lot of my success to seeing how others did it, going, all right, I like that. That fits my branding. Let me take that, twist it, and make it my own. so that way I can do what they're doing, but in my own way. Because in real estate, there's only so many ways you can do things, and there's only so many ways that people have done it successfully. So you take those ideas, you go, cool. And a lot of people, there's a lot of people that are gatekeepers, I call them.
Yeah.
And gatekeepers essentially is someone that's like, I'm not going to show you how to do this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to show you how my secrets. And there's people that are like, nah, man.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we are.
What I did.
And I think this forum is kind of opening us up and other realtors. And it's funny that you asked us last night, like, oh, how did you find me? So what we're aligned with NAREP. Well, I say aligned, but we're part of NAREP, and I think that NAREP has a big following. So what we did is we went and looked up the top realtors in NAREP. So they have the top 100, obviously. So we narrowed it down to the top 10. So everybody that's been on this has been top 10.
Oh, sweet.
And this is like in the San Antonio. So you're in Corpus, and obviously it's a different voting system and tracking system. But you are number 1?
In Corpus?
In Corpus?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But in Texas, or United States, I think last year for 2022, I ended up coming in at number 6.
Wow.
Something like that.
That's awesome, man. That's great. And that's kind of the people that we want on here to kind of like, it's I know I do it sometimes where you see someone up there and you're like, shit, if he could do it, I could do it. It's kind of like one of those.
That's exactly what I told you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a realtor one time where he was producing. I was like, if that guy, that goofy dude can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. And it's just kind of like having that confidence. And if we could help, 2-3 people, get over that and kind of like learn a little bit, like then we're done our job, like,
So within this group, do you have people, if someone right now is a realtor listening, can they go on here? Like, is this only
Yes.
Texas people?
So no. So we're actually, it's great that you asked that. So we're actually going to start, doing it in other states too. So we're, NAREP is having and NAREP, of course, is the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. They have a nationwide set up, and I think their next
individual chapters too.
And then they have individual chapters based off the city. And the next their next event's going to be in Miami. So we're going to try to shoot for something where we could film out there in Miami and get a top producing agent from the area. It's always good to have different perspectives, because even from your business to our business, it's total different. I mean, I know we were talking about yesterday, like the houses on here, like shit, you got to know, like you're by the water, you're by this, like we don't deal with that. So windstorms, yeah. So it's good to have different areas and different, in this case, states, because we've only done it in Texas so far. We've done San Antonio.
Think about how it would be, or how it was prior to like social media and the internet, and everyone just kind of doing. What is that squeaking? Is that you?
What is it?
There's like a squeaking. Is it?
Oh, the chair? Oh, okay.
Sorry.
You keep looking around.
I hear because it's stupid microphones. I'm like, I hear all these noises. I hear like a mouse fart. So
yeah.
There's so many people that when you go through and you see others doing things a certain way, up until like maybe 10 years ago, people had no idea.
Yeah.
You would just hear about it. It'd be like folklore. Like, oh, I heard this guy one time, he sold 300 houses a year.
Yeah.
Like, how the hell do you do that?
How do you do it? Yeah.
How do you do that? And now you can ask the guy. You can message him on Instagram and be like, bro, what's up?
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah.
How did you do it?
Hell yeah. And I think that's good. I mean, having that, because, and of course you got to catch the right person, because like you said, there's a lot of people that are very
Leave you on red.
Yeah, leave you on red. Well, not only that, but it's just like they give you like little bits, like, I just do it. And I'm like, okay, so what systems are you using?
I don't know.
Yeah, just very simple. Oh, I have someone that handles that for me. I don't handle that. And it's just very like closed. And that's what we're trying to, break those kind of, barriers and kind of make it more where it's everybody has a chance. So if you have the drive, shit, you should be able to, succeed, not only in real estate, in anything, I think. But I think a lot of times people just kind of automatically cut it off when they don't have that extra voice helping them. So yeah, man. That's kind of the setup of it. And like I said, we've done Austin, we've done San Antonio, a couple times San Antonio, and the guys in San Antonio. I mean, we've created a friendship. It's almost something like where we bounce ideas off each other, and it's great because I mean they're in the same position as us. I mean, they're top producing realtors, and they have the same issues as us. They have the same dealing with agents or dealing with team members or just anything. I mean, I've talked to some of the guys in regards to like finances, like, hey, bro, what's a good tax write-off? Dude, how do you how do you exactly, like, and I think that's a big way to go. And I think one of the actual we have also events there in San Antonio. The last one we did was talking about Airbnbs, investing in Airbnbs. So it's not only a Facebook forum, we're also putting into like doing classes.
Well, it's also nice to hear from people that are within your industry or close to, and also someone you can actually have a long conversation, because in real estate there's a lot of different people that are trying to sell you stuff. And so it's like, all right, this guy that has this account on Instagram, he's talking about Airbnb arbitrage, and I don't know any Airbnbs. And it's like, what's this guy really doing? Oh, he's selling me a course. That's how he makes money. But then you have the people that are just open with information, and it's not oh, I'm trying to sell you something. I'm just being very open with how I did it.
Yeah, no, I mean, you hit it spot on. And I think my thing is like learning from people that have actually done it. So there's a lot of, I mean, I wouldn't say fakes, but I mean,
No,
kind of,
there's
there's a
fakes.
lot of fakes. Yeah, I mean, I
Like
think,
everyone's a real estate coach.
yeah.
Everyone's got a course. Everyone's got a PDF I got downloaded.
Yeah.
Everyone's got something.
But I mean, in our case, like what we're trying to put, and this is the reason the people that we're putting on is like, hey, man, the numbers don't fucking lie. Like it is what it is. These guys have done it. And it's you should even take more appreciative of these people because they're talking about it. Because I know a lot of people, like, not only are they camera shy or they just don't want to talk or they're just closed minded. So the people
Well, you
that
have a lot of people that like. So my cousin Chris, right, and I've
Mm-hmm.
kind of explained who he is, and on this podcast I talk about him a lot. He's not one of those social media guys.
Yeah.
However, if you were to look at his track record, if you look at his history, if you look at everything he's accomplished, it would seem he would be that person that should be the
Yeah.
one that's up on stage and talking about this. That's just not who he is.
Yeah.
He does so much, but he doesn't use it to go, hey, I'm going to sell you a course. I'm going
Yeah.
to sell you my coaching services.
Yeah.
But then there's people that have done
nothing.
an
Yeah.
eighth of what he's
Yep.
done that are just milking that one
Yep.
thing, and good for them if they're making it happen. But for me, like you said, I'd rather talk to people that actually have done it and want to share it.
Yeah, no, that's spot on. And my thing is like it sucks for the people that are buying the courses because they're not really learning, you know, the full scale of it. Even like that, I feel like they always just like kind of give you little tidbits to keep you going because
Well,
if they give you
kinda like-
everything, you're done.
You know
Yeah.
what I've seen disappear over the last couple of years? Maybe you've seen this too, and I just thought about it right now as we were talking. For a long time, you were seeing the people come into town that were doing the seminars for like wholesaling or
Yeah.
flipping, kind of like the HGTV people, Tarek and all this different.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm whoever, and I haven't heard that in a while. Have you noticed?
It's been a while. I feel like COVID did like hit,
Kinda
you
cut
know,
that down.
cut
'Cause
it
there was,
down.
Like radio commercials all the time. It's like, hey, we're coming to your town, and it would be like this one HGTV star, and then you go to like the Holiday Inn, you go to
Yeah.
the conference room, and it wasn't him. It was just a bunch of other random people saying, hey, pay this much, and we're gonna get you this
So
much
and
for the
so,
class.
yeah.
You pay this much, and then we're gonna get you with our lender. You pay this much,
Yep.
and then we'll fly you out to Vegas. Well, yeah, if I'm giving you $10,000, I would hope you fly me out
Yeah.
to Vegas one time
Yeah.
to go sit in a hotel with you.
No, yeah, for sure. And I think it sucks, but it's unfortunate that there was, you know, and there's going to be forever, man. Any new trend in real estate right now, you were talking about the Airbnb. That's like the new thing right now. So wholesaling's kind of died out, at least in San Antonio. It's not what it used to be.
I think it's still there, but it's so flooded. Like
Yes.
everyone's a wholesaler.
Yeah.
It used to be to where we could give a deal. For anybody who doesn't know what wholesaling is, essentially is you become a middleman between a seller and a buyer without putting it on the market for a discounted price because maybe it can't go traditional financing. And so, yeah, there's a lot of people to where we would make offers and be like, oh, man, that's a great deal.
Yeah.
And now, hey, I'm going to make you an offer on your house. Okay, hold on. They come back. All right, I got 15 offers now because I shopped you. It's like,
Yeah.
damn. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And all these people that are just one-upping each other when they're not even really buying it. They're just kind of trying to
Transferring,
transfer
yeah.
to somebody else, wasting a lot of time.
It's crazy, and I think right now, so with like the whole Airbnb thing is like we manage Airbnb, so we know how difficult it is. So like when we see all those like infomercials or just like Instagram ads or whatever saying like, hey, dude, like, nah, bro, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
like,
there's a one guy, he's like taking out the trash. He's hanging out at home playing video games. And he's like, oh, check this out. And then he shows a screenshot of
Yeah.
his Airbnb like checkout where someone rented his Airbnb for, he says like 90 days
Yeah.
and he made like $80,000. I'm like, that's not real.
It doesn't happen like
What
that.
is happening? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of the little stuff, and we learn by kind of like, and that's kind of the thing that pisses us off, that we do it and we learn by failing. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we did, like we started this Airbnb stuff not knowing where it was gonna go, because it's like we're managing a trend that we don't know what's gonna happen. And when we started it, we started with a personal one. We're like, hey, let's dive into it. Let's see what it's really about before we start pitching it to clients. And I wish everybody would do that, because if you could see what the actual costs are, it's hard.
You
It's
seem like you're just referring back to like maintenance and just all the fees.
everything. One thing that really
the
screwed us
charge
up
that
with
Airbnb
trash.
gives you too. And
Well,
then
not
the-
only that,
yeah, and then the
taxes.
city starts getting you like on Port
It
A, we
is-
have some properties where they're doing like, they're like, oh, hey, by the way, for the last couple of years, we're gonna go ahead and get some back taxes on that. because
Oh,
we need your money."
shit.
Yeah.
So is there anybody that in Corpus? Wow, yeah. In San Antonio, it's been a couple years, and it's getting more stricter. And I think a lot
because
of
they're realizing they're missing out on some taxes.
On
They're
so
like,
much
hold on,
money.
hold on, hold on. Why y'all giving all that money just to Airbnb? We need to take some of that too.
it's insane. And then as an owner, I mean, your profits just start going slimmer and slimmer. And it's like, I mean, I think we had a few of them this year, selling already. And I know I see them all the time online on the MLS, like active Airbnb for sale. And it's just like, you didn't approach it right, for one, but you probably went to a
Or they
class,
bought too high.
Or yeah, or like they bought in the wrong areas. I wouldn't say too high, but I mean the wrong areas is also we've seen that screwed
Oh
people
yeah,
up.
because there's people that'll tell you can just buy anywhere and anybody's gonna rent it. It's like no,
No,
that's how
yeah,
it works.
we had a one that we picked up and that we were managing, and the buyer was from California, and they bought the house and they were advertising that it slept I think like 10. Well, I was like, okay, cool. Well, then you pull up and it's like a one car carport. Like drive, I was like, how are 10 people going to sleep here? But it's stuff that they don't know because they see it, you know.
It was like those Brady Bunch 3 story
Yeah, right. No,
bunk beds.
no, it's like they're not in there, and a lot of the times these infomercials and stuff kind of lead them to making decisions like that, and it sucks, but it is what it is. So, but yeah.
Cool, man. So what else y'all got planned while you're here in Corpus?
So we actually just asked you what a good seafood restaurant is.
Water
I think
Street Oyster Bar downtown.
Water Street
One of my
Oyster
favorite
Bar.
places.
So I think that restaurant that we went last night was top notch.
Oh,
I
Prime?
think
Yeah, it was
Prime.
good. There's a new place in
I
Texas.
think it's different. So we don't actually visit Corpus a lot. We told you yesterday. We kind of just always drive through it. So just seeing like all the developments and stuff is
It's like, wow, they got a new shopping center.
yeah. Everything looks new. Like it looks brand new, which
I
is
have,
cool.
One of my best friends, he lives up there, and he's always joking. We were like, "Yeah, man, we're getting another Chick-fil-A." He's like, "Are you really just getting excited about a Chick-fil-A?"
Yeah.
And when you go over there, it's like a whole shopping center will pop up with a Target and a Bed Bath & Beyond and a Best Buy and a mall, and like all these things just pop up, and it's just unfortunately here it doesn't work that way, not as fast.
It's so the area that your office is in is just, what area would you?
So right now we're considered the South Side.
South Side, okay, and that's where you're seeing the most growth, or is there?
For the last like 2 decades, I would say most of the growth has been to the South Side. Downtown, not as much, only because there's no more land towards the water. Everything else is pushing out as we get closer south. Closer to like the King Ranch area or Chapman Ranch. This is just different areas of town where over time, some of these farmers that finally let go of property, they're like, fine, I'll give you 100 acres, or fine, we're going to give you this, when it's just been sitting there as agriculture for so long. And then it gets rezoned when the people that have the money, they're like, hey, we're going to go ahead and buy all this and we're going to build ... And that's where it started to just kind of grow and grow and grow.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I know San Antonio, like you guys have a lot of like I know like the windstorms and all that stuff, the water stuff, man, that's a lot. And I know there's a lot of forms that are on the Trek forms that we never see.
For properties that are like when you go closer to the water, like right now on the south side, some of that isn't there in like the coastal area. You have to get a little bit closer to the water.
Which is
it would be
how many
going east this way.
east that way? Okay,
So east is like when you go to South Padre Island,
for sure.
Rockport, Portland,
Yeah.
the island like over the bridge.
Yeah. Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, I know. Just being, and this is the reason, like referring people to Corpus agents is kind of like our avenue now, is because stuff like that we didn't know, and I think as realtors, like it's just like how we're doing a disservice to our clients if we don't know where the developments are going, and I think it's always good to have these connections, and I think the same thing for San Antonio. If you ever
That's
need
what I
it,
was saying, like it's hard. When I was younger, it'd be like I'm gonna drive up there, but when when you're a certain point, it's like, hey, I'm doing a disservice to this client if I don't know the area that well. I'd rather get them with a rock star up there to take care of them instead of me trying to just half-ass it.
That's good. That's good.
Well, that's for all areas.
All right, guys, we're here on our next episode with Puro Pinche Real Estate, and we're actually down here in Corpus Christi, Texas, with the one and only Gino Montalvo. Gino Montalvo. So it's funny because you asked us last night, like, how did you guys find me, or how do we end up here? And we were telling you that we actually go through the list of NAREP and see who the top agents in this case Texas were, and you popped up, man. So awesome. It's an honor to be here, man. To be honest with you, we follow you on social media, and I think every realtor that's out there, or even just in general, anybody that's watching the show should follow you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you from? Are you from Corpus, or what's your backend? Where's the Gino from?
Do I gotta talk into this camera?
Yeah, right. No, you can.
No, man. So I'm here. I was born and raised here in Corpus Christi. Lived here up until about 6th grade. Moved away to San Antonio. San Antonio is one of my favorite cities in Texas. Favorite cities in the world. One day gonna move back. And,
awesome.
Live there, but moved back senior year. Came here. Went to school. Didn't know what I wanted to do. How far do I go with this bio?
No, keep going, man. We want the people to know you. We want them to know,
So I came back. Kind of was that lonely kid that didn't really know anybody, like the movies. With Kid who's during senior year, and he's like sitting by himself at lunch, and I'm like, man, no, I don't know.
Did you get picked on, bro?
Not necessarily.
You're a big guy.
Not necessarily picked on, just left alone. I think it's a little worse. Just no one's talking to me, man. When I was leaving school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a lot of friends that were applying to colleges. They were applying here, going here. I was like, what do you mean applying? I just didn't have that kind of I didn't have that kind of wisdom from my family. My family was like,
Guidance,
college,
yeah,
but
for
they didn't
sure.
tell me how.
Yeah.
Because they never went. They're
Yeah.
like, I don't know, just go. Like,
Yeah.
find out where it's at and
Figure
just
it
show
out.
up.
Yeah.
You just don't show up. And so after school, I started doing a lot of computer work. So when I was in high school, I had a lot of friends that were like, man, you're really good at computers. I'm like, yeah, because I was by myself all the time.
Yeah.
How many times I got to tell you, like, I was that kid on AOL or on the line, just trying to figure
Yeah.
things out. And so I had
Burning CDs and stuff.
Oh, dude, I was the guy that had the broadband. I was him.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, can you make me a couple CDs? I'm like, give me your list. I'm on Napster.
There you go.
I had little jewel cases. I was like hustling CDs in high school. And so when I left, I ended up going to community college here, started doing computers, started doing computer networking right around the time where like internet and broadband was taking off.
So that was more or less what 2001. 2001.
So
Okay.
2001 was when there's a company called Cisco that took off. They were connecting the hospitals, the schools, all these different places that at first weren't really connected to the internet.
Yeah.
And over time, they started getting connected. So I was really into that because I knew it was like a growing field. Started getting my degrees in computer science and
sure.
networking. And then after doing that for a while, I ended up working at a children's hospital. So when I worked at a children's hospital, I was just that guy that was like the IT tech. Like I would run around and fix computers and do things. And it was a good job. And I liked working there. And I was proud to work for a children's hospital.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good things they were doing. But for me, being at the time like 23, I remember sitting at a computer and just kind of calculating, all right, if I work here for 10 more years, here's how much my 401k would be. If I work here for 15 more years, how much would it be? Here's for 20 years. And I remember that moment on the computer, and it wasn't a sad moment. It was just like a wake up, like, what am I doing? Like, how am I thinking 15 years down the line I'm going to be sitting at this
And that's
desk?
funny that you're at that age realizing that. And
Yeah,
there's people that go longer and never
I knew I wanted
realize.
to do something different.
Yeah.
And my
I didn't even
dad-
know what 401k was at
Me neither.
freaking
I was
23.
Like, I was just contributing to it.
Yeah.
My dad was a business owner, so he always owned hair salons. And so my mom worked for a corporate world. She worked for AT&T. So I saw that side of the hardworking, man, you work for a company for 20, 30 years and then you get your retirement. But then I also saw the freedom that my dad had and the ability to be your own boss.
For sure.
And so it's kind of like I wanted the
Both in between, yeah.
And so I didn't know what to do. It just so happened at the time, my sister had a friend who was dating a guy who worked on the radio, iHeartRadio. We have
cool.
a station here. They have 6 stations here, so it's like rock station, country station, and there was a rock station. They're like, hey, come on and come talk for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
What am I gonna talk about for 5 hours?
Yeah.
At the time, I was doing graphic
No
design.
experience, no nothing, just
Zero.
Damn, dude, that's crazy.
I was doing graphic design at the time. I was making club flyers. I was making bar flyers. I was making like invitations. So I thought they wanted me to come on and talk about graphic design. And I really thought, I can't talk for 5 hours about graphic design. They're like, no, stupid. Just talk. Like, So I went in one day. I went on a Wednesday, ended up quitting my job like the next week
insane.
and started doing radio. So I did morning radio for 10 years.
Damn.
So for 10 years, I was doing morning radio. I would go in at 5. I would leave at 10. So I was kind of the guy responsible at the radio stations for putting them on Facebook.
Yeah, still with the rock station, still with the
rock station,
damn.
yeah.
Okay,
So
so
I
you
was-
grew I'm guessing a fan base or
So whenever that was around the time where people were kind of like on MySpace.
Okay.
Facebook wasn't really a thing yet, so it was just really MySpace.
For sure.
And I remember being on MySpace and kind of like this. This is cool. Meeting friends and talking to people. I was friends with Paris Hilton.
There you go.
That's how I got on MySpace. I remember a friend of mine calling me. She's like, "Hey, are you on this MySpace thing?" I was like, "What's that?" She's like, "I'm friends with Paris Hilton on there." I was like, "How are you friends?" And this is like the height of like Paris Hilton's fame. I'm like, how are you friends with Paris Hilton? I want to be friends with Paris Hilton. Like, get invited to parties? And so we added her and all that stuff. And so when I got to the radio station, I told them, I go, hey, there's this thing called social media. Y'all should really be on it. This is really making me sound old, by the way. Because I'm like telling them, hey, you should get on social media. None of the stations who had a big following locally, they've been around forever, had social media. So I put them all on social media, gave them all their own fan pages, managed that on top of managing my own. And so radio is all about engaging with the listeners and having people kind of give topics or callers. And
For sure.
Like, hey, what do you like better, Coke or Pepsi?
Yeah.
Like you can start any argument you want on the radio and create engagement. And so I started using social media to do that as well. So whenever we would have a topic or a story, I would ask the question. And so it would just
kind of bring it in together, or was it?
Give us content. So with me, you on the radio show, I'm like,
hey,
bro. Oh yeah, so this person says that. We're like, what? They said that. Oh, this person said this and that. So it never used to be like that. Nowadays, I mean, you can watch the news or Inside Edition or whatever, and a story will happen. It's like online, people causing an uproar and show all these different quotes from social media. It never used to be like that. People were like, what's social media?
For sure.
We even had a production manager when I was doing that tell us, guys, stop talking about Facebook on the air. Like, I don't know why y'all keep talking about this. It's just leave it alone. We're like,
who would have thought?
This is what everybody's doing. Like, we have to talk about this. This is how people are communicating. And sure enough, like 6 months later, they had like a corporate iHeartRadio meeting where everybody kind of gets in the conference room when you watch it live. And one of the things was like, all right, who's on social media? I was like,
Told you.
I told you.
Told you.
I
Yeah.
told you. And so at that time, I was single. I ended up meeting my wife, and we got together. I dropped out of school. I was trying to go to school for marketing.
For sure.
I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I just knew that the radio job would help me do marketing.
Transition into.
Maybe I can go work marketing for this venue or this place or this business. And I really like the graphic design things of it, or getting people's attention and helping people get attention. And so when I was working there, I didn't know what I was going to do with that.
Yeah.
However, at the same time, my cousin Chris Montalvo, who's a broker for his own company, and he was a real estate agent, he was doing big things. He's like, you should be a realtor. I think you'd be good at it.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah. I told him no for like 2 or 3 years.
Wow. That's good for him to
And
keep on you, man.
he's
He
like,
must have seen
You're
something.
going to be good. You're going to be good.
Yeah.
Like, no, man, it's just not me, bro. It's just not me. And so finally, after I got married, we had a kid.
Yeah.
I was like,
You were still in
doing radio.
Still in the radio.
And so I thought, man, I need to do something different.
Yeah.
I remember the morning where I was getting ready for work, and I was like, I need to do something
Wow.
different, because the life
Just
that
hit you.
the life that I want to live, I can't afford it. And there's things I want to do, a place I want to go, or a way I want to raise my child. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And so I ended up, after like a year and a half, it took me a year and a half, 2 years to get my real estate license. Because at the same time he was pushing me, I was like, cool, just to kind of appease him. I'll take a course here and there
For sure.
whenever I can. So he would call me like, have you finished your courses? I'm like, no, I have not finished my courses. He's like, leave me alone. I'm just doing the radio thing. I'm having fun. I'm going to concerts, meeting rock. I don't want to go do real
With
estate.
Paris Hilton or what?
No, I didn't want to do that. Yeah. And so when I finally said, all right, like I said, I had that epiphany one morning. I was like, I need to just do it. So I sat down. I remember sitting in my little girl's room, was like next to like the crib, and I was like on this little cheap $2 computer, and I was just taking the courses, and I finally got it. And so fast forward for the next 4 years, I did radio and I did real estate. So I was using the different marketing tactics I learned with real estate. With the radio, and moving them over to real estate, which is a lot
Genius,
of it was social media.
For sure.
Because no realtors here locally were on social media.
Damn.
No one was talking about it. So I flipped the switch of, hey, do you want Papa Roach tickets?
Yeah.
To, hey, check it out. Here's how I just bought a house. Here's how I did it.
Yeah.
Here's what I learned about my credit. Like, my credit was messed up. Is your credit messed up? Here's how you can fix it. Here's what you need to learn. Here's the people you need to talk to.
That's crazy.
When people weren't sharing that, it was kind of just like a secret. Like,
Yeah.
You didn't know who to call. And if you did know who to call, people weren't advertising that kind of stuff. It was just like, here's a house, here's a house, here's a house.
So did you, when you started, so you've already transitioned into real estate, was it kind of just like, okay, I'm here, I'm top producer? Or,
No.
Or, I mean, what was it like starting off?
So my very first year in real estate, I remember my first 2 deals. And my first 2 deals paid me more in those 2 checks than I had ever seen in one check before.
Damn.
In my banking.
How long did it take you to get your first deal?
30 days.
30 days.
Yeah,
Okay, you're
like
lucky. It took me 9 months, bro.
As soon
So
as-
here.
I believe it. So as soon as I flipped that switch on my social media that, hey, I can help you.
Wow, 30 days.
Hey, man, I just got approved. And it was listeners. Like, hey, man, I know who you are. I just got approved. I don't know what to do. I'm like, hey, come here. Let's go. We're going to do this together.
Damn, that's
and I
crazy.
took them, and I got my first 2 deals. And after that, it was just like a light bulb in my head of like, all right, so
This could
cool.
happen. Yeah, this could work.
Let me pay some bills. And now I sold 1 house. What's going to happen if I sell 2 houses, 3 houses, 4 houses? And I was just got hungry and hungry and hungry.
That's crazy.
Chris was like, I told you.
Yeah.
I told you. And so for that first year, I ended up doing $7 million that first year.
Wow.
And I was doing radio, leaving at 10 in the morning, going to the office, staying to the office till like 6, just literally listening to people, listening to Chris, listening to Michael, who's one of the other brokers here, and just figuring out how to be, quote, a realtor, write contracts, just list properties, take photos, and just learning everything I could and absorbing it, just jumping in the car.
So that gap, I guess, of learning, of soaking it all in, how long did it last? I mean, because it's hard because you see that money and you're like, shit, I need to go get this. So
I would say like year 2 of doing real estate, I ended up doing close to like 10 million. And I was like, all right, so I can sustain my lifestyle with just this now. I don't necessarily need to still stay at the radio, but I didn't want to leave the radio because for me,
it was helping you, right?
I really felt like, oh, it's really helping me. Like, it's my crutch. And I think for anybody that gets into real estate, people always ask me, like, should I just go all in? I'm like, no. No, have a backup. Like, have that if you still have another job, keep
But
that
I think
job.
people need to realize how long to have that backup, because I feel like some people hold on to that
They don't let
backup
go.
for too long.
So that's the point I finally reached where I said, hey, look, if I don't go 100% in one, then I'm never going to be 100% in either. And so I had to really make a decision. And it was at this point where me and my wife, she's a real estate appraiser. She had been doing that for a little while. She was doing really, really well. She started her own business.
Wow.
She has Montalvo Appraisals. And so I had us and our company. I was like, hey, I think we should build a new house. I think we're ready. So we started to build a new house. And then as we were building that new house, it was kind of like, hey, I think after we're done and we close, I think it's time. I think I need to leave the radio. We had another child by then. We had another child strictly because as we were doing better in real estate, we literally looked at each other like a bunch of dummies. We're like, we should have another baby. Things are good. We should have another baby. And so when we actually had the baby, and I remember those nights where he's up all night, I'm like, we did this to each other. Like, stupid. So we started building the house, and I said, when we close, I'm going to quit. So literally the day I close, I closed on a house in 2016, December 31st on New Year's Eve.
Oh, wow.
I closed on our house.
Damn.
And that night
started
fresh. And the next day I was like, next week's my last day on the radio.
Damn.
And I left. So what happened after that is, like I said, I went all in 100%.
What were your initial thoughts? I mean, going in,
my initial thoughts quitting the radio, because it wasn't just like my backup job. It was what I thought, how people knew me. My initial thought leaving the radio was like, people are going to forget who I am.
Yeah.
It's just going to tank. Like, I had a lot of fear. And a friend of mine, there's a quote that he told me. His name's Steve Trevino. You know who that is? He's a comedian.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah. Isn't he from the Valley?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he had told me, well, he's originally from Portland, sorry, but he's been.
Oh, okay.
He had told me, he's like, man, if you don't bet on yourself, then I don't know what to tell you. He goes, just bet on yourself and you'll never lose.
Damn.
And I remember I was driving right here in the street, Holly, and I was like, man, you know what? I gotta bet on myself. So I went all in. I left. That was 2016, New Year's Eve. I quit.
Damn.
So the hard part was right after I left and right after I got this brand new house, I was so excited. At the same time, my dad got really sick.
Oh, wow.
He had been sick. And so 10 days later, my dad ended up passing away.
Wow.
So after I left the radio and I dove into real estate, my dad passed.
That's crazy. And a lot of people think like in being in owners of your kind of independent contractors, there's no sick days or nothing like that, man. So when something like this happens, it knocked dude, I could imagine.
Yeah, it was a kick. It was a kick to the balls.
Yeah.
Because here I was taking this big leap and, going all in. And then this happens. It was almost like, what? Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why did this happen now? Here I have this brand new house. He never even got to see it. Here I have this new career that I'm going all in. Things are good. And then this happens.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I actually lost my dad too. In the middle, it was actually towards the beginning of my real estate career. Really? And I feel like it really helped me kind of like move forward. And kind of get to where I was, and I kind of look back at it like, I wonder if that's kind of like the changing point. So what did it do for you? Like, how did it get you like more quote unquote animo, or was it something that you
I think it made me feel like, hey, and for anybody that's lost a parent, and no matter what business you're in, it makes you feel very vulnerable.
For sure.
Because you're like, wow, like here's this person who in my life, I didn't think they could die. Like this person can't die. It's my dad. So when it happened, I was like, whoa, like, I got to start stepping up in all aspects of my life.
That's crazy.
I need to step up as a dad. I need to step up as a son, a brother, a husband. I need to step up as a businessman because I don't have that. I'm not a little boy anymore.
Yeah.
That's what it made me feel like. And so as much as it was very painful,
that's
it
tough.
was kind of an eye opener to, hey, you got to keep going, bro.
Yeah,
because your dad would want you to. And so 2017, also around the same, this is crazy. So also around that same time, secretly, we were interviewing and going through auditions with HGTV and a production company to have a show on television. And so no one even knew about that. And for the next, from 2017 to 2019, that's all we worked on for 2 years. It took for all this stuff.
Now, what was the show about? Was it like
it was flipping houses?
Oh shit! Okay.
So, yeah. So
it was you and Chris.
So here's the funny thing. So a production company approached us. They wanted to meet us. They got our name from somebody else. So we started doing all these different things and flipping houses for them, showing them like highlight reels, showing them like submitting all this different stuff through social media. And then when they met everybody, they met Chris's wife as well. And so they're like, hey, it was really odd. They're like, so we want to get you, Gino. We want to get Chris's wife. I was like, but me, what?
Yeah.
And this is just behind the scenes stuff. We're like, well, me and Amanda don't flip houses. Like, me and Chris flip houses. Yeah, but for this, it's reality TV, bro.
Yeah.
Like, for this, we're going to have y'all flipping houses. I'm like, well, that's not the way it is. Like, me and Amanda
it's
don't
fake.
hang out.
Yeah.
It's fake.
And
so we went through this process where, it was me and Amanda, and the show was called Shoring the House.
Okay.
And it was just like another flipping show.
Yeah.
And so it was just on the coastal. The only difference I liked about it, and this is kind of in tune with my brand, it was a lot of social media intertwined into the show. So in the show itself, it would show me with stupid like Snapchat filters. It would show me going live at a property. I'm like, this is how I.
Is that something that you implement?
Actually, what I would be doing. Like, this is how I show properties. Like I walk through properties and I do Instagram and I do at the time Snapchat, or I do whatever it is to show these things. So they intertwine it to the show. And it was fun. But with reality TV, like they buy 30 shows a year, and then after that, they might just not pick anything.
Yeah,
so
you're
the
done.
year that I did it, they're like, "No, we're good."
Yeah.
But they put the word out, like, we need these shows. So the production companies do it. And so that was a lot of fun. It got us a lot of like branding. It got a lot of like attention and free marketing and the news. And so it just put us at a different level of like, hey, these are these people that got this recognition. And it was fun. I think everything works out the way it's supposed to.
It's good publicity, I guess you could say. I mean, and the show itself. So 2019 just stops, and then after that,
they did the pilot. Everything went great, and the ratings were really, really awesome.
Damn.
And they showed us like, oh, y'all had more viewers on this Sunday than the Kardashians.
Like, oh shit!
Oh hell yeah! But they're like, no, we're good. I was like, okay, cool. So then that was a transition too for our business, and it kind of relates back like we've spoken in the past about. Client appreciation. Because up until that point, and after my dad died in 2017, and then doing the show, or trying to do this show, I had a real big ego. Like my ego was getting really big, and I was trying to pull it back, and I was like, I can't act like that. I can't act like that. My dad would not be proud of me acting like that. But when you're going through these thoughts in your head that I've never had before, it's almost like I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna be on Home Depot commercials. I'm gonna be like just sitting here. My phone's gonna be ringing off the hook, and I don't have to really work as hard. And I was looking at it wrong. I was looking at it like it was going to be a gift of, hey, you don't have to work as hard. But really, it taught me like, no, you have to work harder. And so that's when it started changing for me, where I go, hey, I got to start doing stuff for the clients. I got to start giving back. I got to have client appreciation parties. I got to touch back on all these people that I've been lucky enough to help, and not sit on this high throne of, oh, I'm on TV.
I'm too good.
Because I think that's probably why I didn't get it. Because I think God's like, no. I try to give you something cool, but
cut it off.
Cut it off. And so 2019, when that didn't go through, I just started switching stuff up with the way we do things real estate wise. And I started taking.
But I feel like everything that you keep referencing to like social media. So I feel like that was your core.
Because I've never been the TV guy. I've never been the radio advertising guy. I've never been the bus bench or the calendars, or all these different things that I know a lot of people get approached with in this business. I never did it. I was like, I'm only doing social media. That's how everybody knows me. That's how I'm able to get the best ROI on my dollars. If I'm able to just keep giving back.
So for newer agents, is that something I mean, you would
absolutely.
I mean, not everybody will have the same platform as far as like radio, but I mean, in general, like that's something that you feel for a newer agent. Hey,
well, here's what's crazy. So when I left the radio, my social media, my bigger page, Facebook, had maybe close to 20,000 followers.
Okay.
And as of now, we have like 100,000 plus.
That's insane.
And so I grew all those people not from being on the radio.
It was from
like I said, going 100% all in on, hey, this is what I do. This is not a hobby. This is not a part-time job. This is not a sometimes I do it. This is literally all me and my family.
This is what it is,
along with all my team. So I think that for any realtor, you got to go all in. You can't just go. Like I have realtors that I know that every once in a while will post something. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm a realtor. I'm never too busy for you. I'm like, yeah, you are. You're doing whatever else you're doing. You're definitely too busy for me. And a lot of people forget you have to be 100% in on these things to make sure that, hey, this is the guy I'm gonna trust to buy, the biggest thing I've ever bought. So definitely use social media quite a bit. And then over the last couple of years, COVID, was one of those weird things for a lot of people in the industry. Because for a lot of places that shut down, business shut down, real estate boomed. Like it was like one of the only things really still taking off. Low interest rates, everyone's ready to buy, and everyone's just.
How did you guys deal with COVID? Being that I mean, did you guys do business as usual or?
No, well, I would say as usual, but then we doubled everything. Like numbers doubled. I went from, I think the year before doing like just over 100 transactions to doing 200 transactions.
That's insane.
Where I had to hire new team members, buyers agents
to keep up with the
demand of everyone wanted to move because everyone was stuck at home. And so that year, as crazy it was for a lot of people, for us, it was just the biggest year ever because that's all we were doing all the time. And it was moving so much faster because no one was taking vacations. No one was partying on the weekend. No one was spending money on these things that they usually spend money on that distract them from their goal of maybe buying or selling a house.
That's crazy. So you got through COVID, you doubled your business. So now this year, past year, you did how many transactions?
Last year in 2022, we did 266.
That's crazy, man. That's awesome. Seriously, dude. I know it takes a lot. I know it takes a lot of help. It takes, it takes.
It's
dude,
not me.
It's
it's the whole team. It's everyone involved. It's the title companies, the lenders, the inspectors, the appraisers. It's everyone that. Over time we've created this team of not just my team, but like out. It is. It's not just my people in my office. It's everyone else that we choose to work with and do business to that makes it work and it's seamless to where I don't have to chase things down or have to worry about it. Everyone's on the same page of trying to do it at this volume.
So what's next? I mean, 216, we talked about it before. Like it's hard staying at the top. I mean, it's hard hitting those numbers consistently.
So
what are you going to do? I mean, what's your plan?
Prior to last year, I would always have this, like, I remember the year it was 2019 when I first sold 100. And it was just this crazy 10X Grant Cardone stupid goal in my head. I'm like, I'm going to sell 100. And it sounded good. Yeah. And then the next year, I'm going to sell 200. And that sounded great. And I hit that number. And then last year, usually at the beginning of the year, I'll give myself a number.
Do you do it on percentages, or do you do it just a general number?
Just crazy number. Like,
really?
I'm going to sell this many. And so last year was the first time since I've been doing this where I didn't set a number. And I think that's kind of what hurt me. And not because we didn't sell as more, but I didn't really in my head.
But you're still increasing, though.
Yeah. But I didn't have it. I think I could have done more if I would have told myself, this year we're doing 300 or this year we're doing 400. So for this year, I think what I really want to focus on is just continue to grow like our client relations.
For sure.
Just because I don't want to feel greedy where I'm like, I want to sell 700 homes.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's like, how are you going to sell like 700? It's going to start going back to what I said before. I'm going to start losing the relationships because I'm spread too thin.
Yep.
And so I'm perfectly content with as much as we're doing.
Yep.
I'd rather just make the experience better so that way the brand can last longer.
And you feel better too, man. I think it's something a lot of times people, like you were saying, you get to a certain point and it's just like, for what? Now, like what's the point of it if there's no progression, not only in professionally, but personally, man, because you got to feel good at what you're doing. Because I know sometimes like you could be killing it, but you're just like dragging ass to like, fuck, I don't want to go. Like,
I've had those years.
And
I've had those years where I'm like, what? Yeah. Like, I remember sitting there, and my wife's like, "Are we gonna see you? Like, are we gonna hang out this weekend?" I'm like, "No, I have this going on, da da da." And I was so caught up on trying to grow new business. She's like, "Why didn't you just focus on the business you have and the people you have, and that'll sustain us? Like, we're fine." And so that's a hard thing too, where if you're constantly looking for that new business, it's going to be exhausting. But if you focus on the people you have, the relationships you have now, and just keep that going, like it'll feed the machine. But I think to answer your question,
you're good.
My goal for this year is to set ourselves up to just be a lifelong brand here in my community. I felt that I've got to this point, and it's really that transition of I can either just burn out, which a lot of people that unfortunately do, or I can start giving back more, where I'm more fulfilled.
Now, when you say give back, I mean, what are you thinking? Are you doing like volunteer events, or just like monetary, or like what do you?
Monetary, both volunteer work, but also to other realtors that are around me, other people that are in my industry, other agents that work with me, other people, just to continue to grow the team and making sure that we're all taken care of for a long time to come.
That's good. That's great, man. I mean, I think you've touched on a lot of the stuff that we wanted to talk about. There was a couple questions that we wanted to throw at you, just kind of get your feedback and kind of see how you approach this. But being in the industry now for what, 8 years?
No, so this year will be 10 years.
10 years, shit. Okay. Have you ever been in the position where you had to fire a client? And what do you have to say about people right now? Maybe another realtor or someone just in general dealing with someone that's either combative or just is not there. I mean, how did you approach?
So the one particular one, it wasn't so much as a firing, but it's kind of just like remembering that you're a person. You don't have to be walked on.
Yeah.
It was right after my dad passed away.
Oh, man.
I was in New Orleans, and I had this trip planned, and I kind of went with some buddies just to kind of clear my head and kind of be out of town. And I had this lady call us, and basically after the closing, she had took the stove, and she had asked me, "Can I take the stove?" I was like, "No, you can't take the stove." So then I had long story short, I basically had to hire one of my guys, go get the stove, bring it back, and she was just yelling at me, and I made this lady a ton of money, and I had to just tell her, like, I'm a person. Like, I just had a death in the family, and you're treating me like a piece of shit when I just made you $100,000, and I told you to leave a stove. And it's something that's
stove. Yeah,
it's really just letting people know, like, I'm not a robot. And the same thing with the clients. Like, you have to treat the clients the same way. Like, I know you're a person too, and we're all going through stuff. And so there's been times where people have treated me like it's transactional. And it's like, no, I'm not going to.
But do you ever think, like, why though? Like, is it something that?
Well, I mean, buying and selling real estate for a consumer is stressful.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest times in their life. Sometimes people are going through death, divorce, job loss.
To change in their life. I mean, that's
a big change in their life,
for sure.
You really truly see how people.
And then you step in with
I got stuff going on. So I think that's just one that comes to my head. But anytime anybody disrespects me or my family or anybody around me, like it's not about the money. It's just about respect.
At that point, there's a cutoff point. That's good, man.
I'll cut them off.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, just to kind of, for a newer agent, like I know we talked about kind of like the whole purpose of this setup is to kind of give them that little info that you wish you would have had. So I know it's kind of like everybody always asks, like, what would you have done back in the? But honestly, like straight up, like what's something that, and it could be out of the box. It doesn't have to be straight up like direct. But I mean, what's something that a new realtor you feel like should know?
I would say the top thing is work your database
Okay.
and start a database, because when I first started and I was selling properties, I wasn't keeping track of my numbers. I wasn't keeping track of my clients. Like when I first started the first 2-3 years, if someone came up to me, it's like, give me a list of every client you've helped, email, addresses, phone number.
And I had the same issue. And one of the things that I thought about was like, oh, now there's like so many different things. So there's spreadsheets, there's Monday.com, there's so many different ways. But me, honestly, and I mean, it's not an excuse because I did the same thing. I didn't keep track. And it was just like, thinking about it now, it could have been an easy, like as a Word doc.
Bro, I would have had, at one point in my life, I had 5 clients. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, done.
But it was way harder 3-4 years in, going backwards and finding all these people.
Yep.
But then also, again, this is where I realized, like, I haven't talked to this person in 2 years, 3 years. I just disappeared after I sold it. And I was like, that was a disservice to myself.
For sure.
When, again, if you're talking about a new agent, if you have 4 clients, if you have 10 clients, treat those 10 people like the best people in the world, because those 10 people trusted you.
And they multiply.
And as of right now, those are the only 10 people that can talk about your services.
Yep.
And so if you can work those 10 people and their circle of influence, then as time goes on and you have that database continue to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, all those people are going to continue to do the same thing if you learn from the start.
For sure.
But if you're going backwards, it's just like, hey, remember me? They're like,
no. Yeah, it sucks. I know. And one of the things that you mentioned right now about kind of like giving back to the community and the whole like setup, like your goal is kind of like you're positioning yourself to be a good leader. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of like everybody's goal. I mean, you get to a point in the real estate, at least I do, like it's just like it's not saying it's fun, but you just want bigger challenges. And I think one thing that this is more directed to like the experienced agent. Like, what does a leader, in your opinion, look like? What is your kind of like? Okay, that's a fucking leader. Like, that's fucking,
So I have one member of my team. Her name's Jessica, and Jessica has been with me for about 8 years now. She was my very first hire. And there's something actually she said maybe just a month ago, and it's something where I've heard it before, but it had never had to been told to me. I always feel like I'm doing good. I'm doing good. And so once a year, she has kind of like these come to Jesus talks with me. She's like, hey, remember that one talk we have a year where I got to tell you how to do things, or I got to tell you very upfront? I'm like, yes, tell me.
Yeah.
She goes, you need to lead from the front. She goes, because if you're not doing it, no one else is going to do it. Because some bosses or some people that lead people like to just tell people what to do, but won't do it themselves.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a parent. Like, don't do what I did. Do what I say, not what I do. And so leading from the front would be one of those things. And that can mean a lot to different people. That can mean lead from the front in the way you structure and systemize everything, or lead from the front the way you volunteer, or the way you give back, or the way you just treat others in the industry. You have to be the person. What is that quote? It's like, be the change you want to see. Like, I have to be that person that's doing the things that I wish someone else was doing. It's like, no, I guess I got to do it.
Dude, yeah. You hit it spot on. Guys, Gino, if you're not following him yet on Facebook, Instagram, you're on Instagram as...
Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Spotify, Snapchat. No, not Snapchat. Facebook, everything. Basically, if you do @the Gino Montalvo, everything will pop up.
There's another Gino Montalvo or what?
No,
you just want to be fancy like that?
I don't remember why I did that, to be honest with you.
Dude, it's been great talking to you. Honestly, it's when we were looking up people to do it, we couldn't find anyone more perfect than you. Awesome. I think just the stuff that you bring to the table is going to help a lot of people, and I think that's kind of like what we're going for. So, again, appreciate you, guys.
Appreciate you.
Let us know if you need anything, San Antonio. Guys, there you go. Badass, man.